Hey, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Ba'ashim Kodash. Double honors once again go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who continue through the Holy Spirit, to push out this truth. Salutations to the fellow Akim out there on the highways and byways across the four corners of the earth, doing likewise. Pushing this truth in all honesty and sincerity, while trying to wake up the remaining hopefully elect. And this video is going to be about what's going on down there in Mississippi, in particular Jackson, which has about an 80% Jake population. And for some reason, well, I know the reason, and our people that are in this truth know the reason. This is spiritual, and also to put a worldly spin on it, our people still have that slave mentality. They don't want to admit it. And it goes to something that you'll find in all these meetings that they have for people with addictions and other problems. And they say the first thing in order to change that you have to do is recognize that you have a problem. And our people don't want to do that because they think at the end of the day that they're strong enough and they can get themselves out of this situation by getting an education, by forgiveness, and all this other bullshit. That's never going to happen because the people that rule over you hate you, and they're going to keep shifting gears, so to speak. If you haven't noticed that, yeah, that's what's going on. And the fact that you haven't noticed that, well, that brings up questions, and that goes right around full circle to what I've just said. You have an issue that you refuse to address, and that is realizing that you're still a slave. The Emancipation Proclamation isn't what you were told it was. Anyway, here we are. It says Republicans' failure to act over Jackson water crisis is down to race and class prejudice. That is the truth of what's going on here. Mississippi, the very last state to honor the abolition of slavery. I believe it was 1995. Yes. Don't believe me? Hey, let's go there. No problem. Let's see, Whoop, cast. What the hell is that? There we go. Didn't believe me. Mississippi officially abolishes slavery, ratifies 13th Amendment, after, and this is 2013, after 148 years, Mississippi finally ratifies 13th Amendment. Mississippi, let me read it in its totality. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished slavery, was ratified in 1865. Everybody knows that. Lawmakers in Mississippi, however, only got around to officially ratifying the amendment last month. 148 years later, thanks to the movie Lincoln. The state's historical oversight came to light after Mississippi resident Ranjan Batra saw the Steven Spielberg directed film last November. After watching the film, which depicts the political fight to pass the 13th Amendment, Batra did some research. He learned that the amendment was ratified after 3/4 of the states backed it in December 1865. 4 remaining states all eventually ratified the amendment, except for Mississippi. Mississippi voted to ratify the amendment in 1995. but failed to make it official by notifying the U.S. archivist. This is the resistance you get because of the hatred that's leveled against our people. You cannot educate, no matter how many degrees you get, it's not going to keep them from hating you. You have to turn to the scriptures to find out what's been going on. And that goes into the story of Jacob and Esau. All right. Starting at Genesis 25th chapter. And I'll leave it at that, because I can say once you understand that, then you can understand what happened before that, and it's related. But I'll leave it at Genesis 25th chapter, the story of Jacob and Esau. All right. It says, Boucher spoke to another Mississippi resident, Ken Sullivan, who contacted Mississippi Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann about the oversight. Finally, on January 30th, Hosemann sent the Office of the Federal Register a copy of the 1995 resolution, and on February 7th, the Federal Register made the ratification official. Look at that. Now, that only took from January 30th, looking at 8 days, 9 days tops. According to the Clarion Ledger, it's unclear why the state never sent the U.S. archivist its 90. Really? It's unclear? Really? You actually believe that wasn't... Wait a minute. How'd they put it? It's unclear why the state never sent the U.S. archivist its 1995 resolution. People amaze me. The level of hatred. Wow. It goes on to say, that was, the water is as dark as strong coffee. That was my first thought when I saw the bathtub full of brown liquid Sidney Franks ran in her Jackson, Mississippi home. Monday, had no water. Yesterday, water was unable to flush toilets, and they said we could boil it, but I didn't use it. All right, she posted. For years, the residents of Jackson have complained about the quality of the water, and for years, those complaints have fallen on deaf ears in this ruby red state. Jackson may be the seat of power in the Magnolia State, but it is far from powerful in a state that only last year removed the Confederate battle flag from its own state flag. A majority black and deeply impoverished city, Jackson, I've been there years and years and years ago. I believe it was, late 70s. Anyway, it says, this despite decades of complaints from residents about the quality of their water and infrastructure. The water crisis is the nexus of that racism and classism, manifesting itself in one of the greatest public health crises in the nation. By now, the residents of Jackson, the capital of Mississippi, and home to more than 163,000 people, has been without clean water for over a week. And yet, you hurried to send all of this aid to Ukraine over some bullshit. Some staged bullshit at that. All right, which a lot of people may still be unaware that was the result of those people over there in Ukraine being caught with biological weapons labs and its connection to the Biden family. All right. Man, or that guy Zelensky is the cousin of the billionaire who funded Black Lives Matter, George Soros. They are related. All these motherfuckers at the end of the day are related. All right, this is, and still people feel they just can't grasp that when you tell them that this whole world for the last 400 to 500, maybe a little bit longer years, has been run by a few families, and that they're all interconnected somehow. They can't fathom that. What? You're tripping, dude. Is it really that hard to believe? I am in charge of all the wealth all these families, they intermingle, they interbreed. Mm. Like it says, Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. All right. There may be more bad days in the future. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves. Oh, you can look at him and tell, oh my goodness, you just got to look him up. In fact, let's do that now. Tate Reeves. Retry. Looks like I might have to retry again. Hold on. No, wait a minute. Come on, you can do it. Come on, come on. Oh, crap. Come on. There we go. Tate Reeves. What? We'll have to go to let's see. Tate Reeves. There you go, Mississippi Governor. Look at him. 4 days ago, 8 days ago. Yeah. Got that crooked politician smile. Yeah. Anyway, we have, however, reached a place where people in Jackson can trust that water will come out of the faucet. People in Jackson can trust the toilets can be flushed. What a shockingly low bar for a city in the wealthiest nation in the world. Notice Reeves did not say, that's that quote from Reeves, the governor, person I just showed you. Reeves did not say the water was drinkable. A boil water advisory remains in effect, all right, as it has since July 30th. July 30th. All right, it's a few minutes from being September 10th. All right, the city hopes to be able to lift it later this week, but even that is a hollow victory. Reeves is already floating the idea of privatizing the city's water, a move which would drive up costs and diminish accountability. Of course. Who's the clientele? It's not people that look like him. Privatization would be disastrous for Jacksonians, just as Republican neglect has been. While water and other utilities are often the purview of local governments, Jackson is a struggling city in need of state help. As Jarvis DeBerry, a Jackson native, wrote for MSNBC, racist white flight contributed to a 25% population decrease between 1980 and 2020. The result is that Jackson is now 82.5% Jake. All right, according to the Census Bureau statistics, less than half of the city's residents own their own homes, and only 28% have college degrees. Which, why did they even put that there? What does that have to do with anything? I guess they're going to the route that, and this is what these Edomites have done over the course, because our people don't understand that about a tax base, and that's what I'm, getting at. But you got to understand, like here in the district in D.C., when Marion Barry was mayor, well, after this go to the early 70s, when they, because it used to be run as a, what was it called, city manager or something like that. I want to get it right. Let's see. DC before let's see, Executive Office of the Mayor. Now let's see, history of offices. Goes a lot of history, 1790, 1801. No, gotta go further. Hold on. Let's see. Commissioners, I'm sorry. In 1871, the District of Columbia Organic Act, those three subdivisions within the district were unified into a single government, whose chief executive was a territorial governor. As listed below, only two served before this office was abolished in 1874 and replaced with a temporary three-member board of commissioners appointed by the president. The board was made permanent in 1878, and this system continued until 1967, when it was replaced by a single mayor, commissioner, and city council appointed by the president. Finally, in 1974, the District of Columbia Home Rule Act allowed the district residents to elect their own mayor. All right. So there you have it. It's weird. You got to understand, this is a D.C. being a, I don't want to get off into something else, but it's one of those city-states when you go to Revelation 16th chapter. All right, but back to Jackson, Mississippi and the water crisis. And it says, all this means that the city has little tax base of its own, which was what I was getting to. This in turn has contributed to a woefully underfunded budget, and they did this on purpose. No one's going. A perfect example, as I was about to get into, if I went off on the rulership of the District of Columbia. That's how they got Jake. They did not invest and will not invest in our future. The whole reason being that they can always come back later, as they did with DC, and the amount of gentrification that you see now. My goodness, if there is more than what's going on here in DC, I've never seen it or heard of it. It is staggering. And I've been here over 30 years, I'm still going to places that, in some instances, where I hadn't been in a long time, and I'm like, I can't even recognize the fucking neighborhoods. All right? Wow. But that's a tactic of theirs. All right? They're not going to invest, whether you become the mayor or whatever. That's how they get you. And they mention white flight. All right? We're not going to have our taxes support you. Again, going back to the hatred. And our people still got this, well, if I can just get enough education, white people will like me. No. That's never going to happen. Again, I quoted scriptures for you to understand this. Genesis 25th chapter. All right, to understand what happened. These so-called white people, they want that collectively, they want this birthright back that they sold, and it's not going to happen. You understand, as a result of that, this is as good as it gets with them. Those that are in the know amongst their people, they understand that prophecy dictates that this is it. All right, they're going to be under us. 2nd Ezra 6th chapter. All right, it gets it. Let's go into that real quick before I wrap this up. This is prophecy, people. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 6. We understand Jacob and Esau. Let's go to 7. It says, this is Ezra and the angel. All right, and he says, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? Meaning an age, all right? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Genesis 25th chapter, that's where that starts. Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, which is what's described there, as he was coming out of the womb. All right, for Esau is the end of the world, that's who's ruling now, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, that's our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and all those scattered abroad. They may look like the other nations. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Ezra, asked thou not. All right. So this is what's been going on. All right. And you're dealing with, since I said that, an individual that is by nature wicked. All right. Well, And this is what we're out there on the highways and byways telling you. It says, I will, Habakkuk 2:1, I will stand up on my watch, which you were doing, and set me up on the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Most High Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. And it hasn't been. What our people don't understand is we're on a different time scale. All right, and these prophecies, this is why the Most High is bound by his word and his prophecies, which are included in that. All right, so certain things have to happen first. All right, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it. And this is a problem that Jake has. No patience. All right, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Behold, his soul, whose soul? The so-called white man, which is lifted up how? With pride. There is no more prideful person on this planet than the so-called white man. His soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, because he's wicked. Malachi 1st chapter, verses 1 through 4, the point being in 4. Wherever these motherfuckers go, wickedness follows. That's why they're called the border of wickedness. But the just shall live by his faith. And here's my point. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, meaning his philosophy and his doctrines, i.e., democracy. He is a proud man, as brought to the forefront again. Neither keepeth at home. He's always in every other country's business, trying to tell him how to run things. You know, you need to implement democracy, you know, for us to deal with you. And then after they do so, now you got homosexuality and all these other problems that the West is known for. All right. And now people are tired of this shit. They see it for what it is. They're tired. All right. Who enlarges his desires, hell, meaning he can't get enough. All right. His greed, it's insatiable. It's avarice. All right. All right. His desire, who enlarges his desire, is hell, meaning the grave, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these, talking about the people he's fucked over, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that's talking about this debt-based system that we're all trapped in. The Hebrew word there is abolishes. All right. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Meaning, turnabout is going to be fair play. Isaiah 33rd chapter, verse 1. All right. Those that he spoiled. All right. And they did, you know, well, they're going to turn around and spoil him. And they see that on the horizon. That's why you're having all this might as well say again, another white flight. Motherfuckers are, but then again, you got people moving into the city. And it's like I said, and others have said, the cities are going to be death traps shortly. This is not something in the far distant future. All right, we've been trying to tell you this, and if you can't see the signs by now, you're fucked. All right, let's go back to the article. So what's been going on in Mississippi? You got all these racists, all right, from the governor on down, and they're making sure Mississippi, my goodness, man. It's like it's another fucking country or something within the continental U.S. The level of hate that, wow. I'm surprised there's any Jake still down there, but hey, Jake is in that mindset, you know. They have also, picking up where I left off, unsurprisingly, repeatedly opposed infrastructure upgrades. Why? Because it's our people. Calling the state legislature both paternalistic and racist earlier this year, Jackson Mayor, he's been interviewed several times already, Lumumba, wow, accused the state legislature of not only underfunding the necessary, what did I tell you about, I said it another way, but it's underfunding. All right. Necessary repairs to city infrastructure, but of attaching strings and oversight requirements not attached to other, presumably white municipalities. The same thing that went over here on the district. I remember those times I would see when Mayor Berry was, he would testify before Congress, sweating like, and we know now why. I mean, that's what he had to do in order to get funding, because it was back through, and still is, Congress. All right. Anyway, he also noted that while the state, well, wait a minute. I believe, before others correct me, I believe they altered that under the, was it Mayor Anthony Williams? Again, this goes to them getting their foothold back in the district after all those years. All right. And again, the level of gentrification, I believe that's what happened. But I believe still Congress still has some oversight when it comes to the budget for the district. It's nothing new. They always find a way to, through wording certain laws and bylaws and things of that nature, to keep their control. He also noted that while the state legislature did earmark $25 million for improvements to the city, it also earmarked $13 million for a golf course in Jackson, money that should have gone towards improving the city. So that's what that's what they think of you, but yet they go balls to the wall when it comes to funding motherfuckers you don't even know. All right, over in some far distant, who, by the way, if you haven't picked up on it, they label them so-called Jews. That's the issue there. Because you have to understand, going back in history far enough, as we've always taught, you have to understand Job 30th chapter. All right, and its relation to that region that you still hear about today, when the so-called white man was driven away from the dark nations because of his ways. All right, and he was driven up in that bottleneck there called the Caucasus Mountains between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, and driven up into that region. All right. So that's another reason why they hate us. Hey, so with that, I'm gonna let you read the rest of this for time's sake. It's not that much left, but I'm gonna cut it right here. It's the same old thing. Yeah. And yet they have control over, everybody keeps talking about Africa, and all its wealth. Well, they don't control that. And it's strange that you don't hear about, when was it, June or somewhere thereabouts, where they said they discovered, like, the number I heard was 13 trillion in gold, and I think it was Uganda. Why haven't you heard anything else about that? I heard briefly that there were skirmishes. There was a lot of killing going on. And I don't think it's far-fetched to understand why they appointed a so-called black general, U.S. general, in charge of that region. All right. To put a so-called Jake face on it. Now hey, we'll put you in charge of something like that. All right. And a lot of you dumbasses are going to say, well, Obama is not our people, you dumbass. He is actually related to the former presidents. All right. And to these elite banking families, you dumbasses. All right. Hey, so with that, I say, like, we'll cut it there. It's been again, showcasing Edomite hatred for Jake. Here it is in Jackson, Mississippi. They don't have clean water to drink, but they send all the money that could aid, and it could possibly, and it's been going on for a long time. So they don't want to fix it. Again, showcasing their hatred for our people. And it's only when things like this happen that it's brought to the forefront. Hey, so with that, shalom.